Ganch is a young man who acts without thinking and relies on the money his mother sends him from America. He sold his apartment, wasted all his money, and now rents a place to live. He is also known for lying a lot and eating too much, which is why his old classmates called him Snake Oil. One of his former classmates, Sat, is a young scientist working in a famous professor's lab. The professor quickly agrees to let Ganch take part in an upcoming experiment. At that same moment, Ganch is enjoying the company of a beautiful girl, but his fun is interrupted when Margarita, his landlord, shows up. Seizing the moment, Ganch cleverly introduces the girl as his fiancée to get rid of her. Margarita wants him to pay the rent for last month, but Ganch confidently tells her that he's about to marry the daughter of a rich and famous man, and after that, he will pay off all his debts. Later, Ganch and his fiancée, Melina, are enjoying themselves at a restaurant when Razmi, his creditor, approaches and asks for repayment of the money Ganch owes. Ganch reassures Razmi that everything will be taken care of once he gets married. Razmi lets him go, and then Ganch calls his partner to say that potential buyers will come to check out his karaoke cafe. To make it look successful, he invites friends to act like customers, pretending that the karaoke business is doing really well and making a lot of money. Ganch arrives at the cafe and tells his friends what to do, asking them to help create the illusion of a busy crowd. Finally, the potential buyer arrives, but he already knows about Ganch's debts. Despite this, Ganch almost tricks him, but one of the friends accidentally gives away the truth, and the buyer leaves. Later, Ganch is taken to a secret laboratory where the professor starts to explain his discovery, but Ganch, who isn't very smart, understands nothing of what is being said. Sat steps in to explain that, under the professor's guidance, they have created a unique female robot named Rosalie. Her body looks almost exactly like a human's, making her hard to tell apart from a real person. To help her become more human-like, the android needs to experience all kinds of human emotions. Ganch is given the job of living with her for a month during this testing phase. At first, he is let down by her appearance, but the professor promises that after some upgrades, she will be even more beautiful than a real woman. On top of that, Ganch will get a nice reward for being part of the experiment. Despite this, Ganch refuses because he doesn't like the robot and says he is getting married in a month. The professor tells Sat to find someone else, but Sat insists that Ganch will come back. Later, Ganch meets his fiancée's father, Shahan, who sees people as either predators or herbivores. Ganch tells him he is a mix of both, but Shahan believes he is just a rabbit who always escapes trouble. At first, Shahan struggles to accept his daughter's choice, but Melina insists they are in love. Shahan then demands that Ganch pay for Melina's wedding dress and, most importantly, be a loyal husband. Otherwise, he warns, there will be serious consequences. Ganch calls and agrees to the experiment, but only if Rosalie is adjusted to his preferences. Sat drives to the karaoke cafe to have Ganch sign a confidentiality agreement. No one can find out about this discovery too soon. Rosalie is so special that she could be worth tens of millions of dollars, and Sat knows that the Pakistanis are already interested in the technology. At that moment, Ganch sees a beautiful girl enter the cafe and assumes she is Rosalie. He rushes over with flowers, but soon realizes she doesn't match his expectations and criticizes her chest. Angry, the girl briefly robs him of his manhood. Sat quickly apologizes to her and explains to Ganch that he made a mistake, though Ganch has already figured that out. Then he finally meets the real Rosalie and starts their introduction with a dance, which greatly impresses the professor. Later, Ganch brings Rosalie home. The robot immediately cleans up the place and serves him a delicious dinner. Afterward, Ganch decides to test her womanly qualities, but he soon realizes that Rosalie doesn't understand romantic relationships. Frustrated, he calls Sat, who admits that her wedding night function hasn't been activated. They need Ganch to treat her like a real person. Only then will she be able to progress to the next level. Ganch must win her over as he would a real woman. Determined, he tries to court Rosalie, but she has already switched to standby mode. The next morning, Ganch goes to the bridal salon to buy a dress for Melina. However, at the entrance, he is stopped by Razmi, who is still waiting for the money he was promised. Just then, Melina arrives. When Razmi sees her, he instantly falls in love and offers to help pick out the dress, pretending to be a designer. Together, they all enter the salon. Meanwhile, Rosalie gets into an elevator, where Margarita and Ganch's neighbor are also riding. Meanwhile, in the bridal salon, Razmi admires Melina's beauty. Margarita calls Ganch and scolds him for subletting her apartment. Realizing she is talking about Rosalie, Ganch then rushes home, convinces Margarita to wait a little longer, and introduces Rosalie as his fiancée. Just then Sat calls Ganch, asking him to take Rosalie somewhere so they can observe how the robot interacts with other people. However, Melina texts Ganch to praise the designer, who turns out to be Ganch's creditor, Rosmi. She is so impressed with his artistic taste that she wants his advice on other items and asks for the money for her dress to be sent. Just then, the elevator arrives on their floor, and Rosalie returns. Ganch is unhappy that she went out alone, but she explains that she went to buy groceries and shows him a card given to her by the laboratory. This immediately lifts Ganch's mood. Ganch hurries to the store and buys Rosalie a bouquet of flowers. However, she doesn't understand their purpose. He explains that men give flowers to women to express their feelings. Rosalie smells the flowers and admits that her vestibular circuit is spinning. This moment is instantly recorded at the lab, and the scientists celebrate the first time a synthetic happiness hormone was triggered by flowers. Meanwhile, Ganch takes Rosalie to a karaoke bar to meet a couple of his friends. Rosalie immediately joins a conversation about the cryptocurrency market, leaving the men speechless. When one of the friends' girlfriends mentions she loves Japanese poetry, Rosalie begins reciting Japanese verses fluently. Ganch quickly lies, claiming that she studied in Tokyo. One of Ganch's friends pulls him aside and bluntly says that he doesn't understand how such a woman could pay attention to someone like him. He calls Ganch a liar, drowning in debt, and even points out that he snores. He insists that Ganch isn't the kind of man anyone would fall for. The friends leave, but Ganch and Rosalie remain unfazed, exchanging flirtatious glances. Their interaction is noticed by Rosmi, who is outraged and believes Ganch is cheating on Melina. Ganch quickly lies, claiming that Rosalie is a singer at his karaoke bar. Rosmi doesn't believe him, but Rosalie steps up to the microphone and performs a beautiful, lyrical song. Realizing he can't catch Ganch in a lie, Rosmi leaves, while Ganch is left mesmerized by Rosalie's singing. Later, they stroll through the city, and upon returning home, Rosalie serves Ganch a Japanese dinner. She then asks him why people lie. Ganch tries to explain that life is hard and sometimes people lie to cope. Rosalie argues that the world is based on mathematics, where lying should be impossible. Ganch gives an example involving the resale of a car, but Rosalie quickly calculates the outcomes and exposes the lie. However, Ganch adds multiple personal reasons that cleverly mask the deception. Unexpectedly, Rosalie then asks him to teach her how to understand lies. The professor is informed that Rosalie has just downloaded books on poker rules and the art of bluffing. At the same time, Ganch teaches Rosalie how to play poker, and she quickly starts beating him. The scientists observe the production of synthetic adrenaline in Rosalie. Ganch, noticing her progress, asks her to get dressed. Meanwhile, the scientists notice that Rosalie has downloaded directions to a casino, so they decide to distract her by activating the wedding night function. The robot immediately responds, commanding Ganch to follow her into the bedroom. Stunned by the prospect, Ganch forgets everything else and follows her. The neighbors notice the shaking of the house, and by morning, Ganch barely emerges from the bedroom. He quickly calls Sat, who promises to reduce Rosalie's intensity. Just as she finds Ganch again, the wedding night function begins to weaken, and Rosalie remembers that they were supposed to go somewhere. The pair heads to the casino, where Rosalie effortlessly beats everyone. On the way home, Ganch, thrilled that people were envious of him for the first time because of the stunning woman beside him, kisses Rosalie. However, as they approach Ganch's home, they are met by Shahan, who has been informed that his future son-in-law was seen in a casino with another woman. Ganch quickly lies, claiming that Rosalie is his sister, who just arrived from America. Rosalie plays along, and Shahan believes the story and leaves. The pair goes up to the apartment, where Ganch confesses to Rosalie that he is getting married soon. Unexpectedly, the robot becomes upset, admitting that she doesn't want to part with him right now. She even feels like hitting him. The astonished scientists observe as Rosalie exhibits a full range of hormonal reactions, realizing that she is experiencing jealousy. At that moment, the robot throws a statue at the wall to release her frustration, then hugs Ganch, astonishing the scientists once again as actions trigger the wedding night function on its own, indicating that Rosalie has truly become a real woman. Meanwhile, Ganch, after composing himself, steps into the hallway only to find Rosmi and his bodyguard sitting at his table. Rosmi, having learned about Ganch's winnings, has come to collect his money. He orders Ganch to drop his tiger mask and face Melina like the rabbit he really is. The next day, Shahan finds Rosmi with Melina on his lawn. The men introduce themselves, and Shahan notes Rosmi's business acumen. At that moment, Ganch is serving breakfast to Rosalie when he receives a call from Shahan. Shahan admits that he was very impressed by Ganch's sister and asks to introduce them properly at a restaurant that evening. Shahan is thrilled by the possibility of a future marriage and enthusiastically describes the family tree to Ganch. Ganch tries to send Rosalie back to the lab, but she decides to meet with Shahan, promising to resolve the issue that evening. They meet at the restaurant, where Rosalie impresses Shahan with her deep knowledge of winemaking. Suddenly, Ganch sees Melina and Razmi and steps away to confront them. While Rosalie talks about Shahan's late wife, Ganch, on one side of the restaurant, Ganch tries to start an argument with Melina about her cheating. But Razmi quickly steps in and takes charge of the situation. Rosalie talks about Shahan's love for his wife and suggests he look for his soulmate. Meanwhile, Ganch is subtly humiliated as Razmi promises to reveal the truth to Melina. Ganch panics and runs back to Rosalie, who calmly admits that she told Shahan everything. When Shahan returns home, he looks through a photo album of his late wife. Melina enters and confesses that she loves another man and doesn't want to marry Ganch. In the lab, the scientists observe that Rosalie has started producing melatonin and has fallen asleep like a real human. The professor, realizing their goal has been achieved, orders the robot to be recalled. The next day, Ganch settles his debts and parts ways with Melina. At the karaoke bar, Shahan tells Ganch there will be no wedding with his sister. Just then, Shahan sees the singer working at the bar and instantly falls in love with her. Ganch buys flowers and rushes home, but Rosalie is gone. He calls the lab and they inform him they've taken her back. Ganch begs to say goodbye, and the scientists agree to meet him. He asks Rosalie to wear a white dress and meet him in the garden. There, Ganch asks her to run away and marry him. Rosalie refuses, explaining that she isn't real and can't have children, though she has learned to love him. Tears fall from her eyes as she shuts down, deactivated by SAT, who has already sold her. Ganch tries to save Rosalie, but is overpowered. Just then, Razmi arrives to announce his engagement to Melina, inadvertently saving Ganch. When the buyer sees Rosalie, she reactivates and fights to protect Ganch. Tate aims a gun at her, forcing her to obey, but when Ganch breaks free, Rosalie shields him, taking bullets to the back. The police arrive and arrest the criminals. Time passes. SAT is in prison. Shahan starts a relationship with the karaoke singer, and Melina and Razmi plan their wedding. The scientists launch a new robot. Ganch, now married to Rosalie, drives her to the hospital as she is about to give birth. They argue with the professor over the phone about their child's name. Ganch doesn't notice the paramedic's shocked expression upon hearing that the woman is a robot. And with that, the movie concludes.